make sure that we are live. Looks like we are live here on YouTube, I think. Double check old Twitch. And it looks like we are live there as well. I think we're live on YouTube. Yes, there we go. Live both places, so we are here. Normally we pass a little treat to the dogs, but I've already done that. So we're just gonna begin in earnest. We don't have, I was gonna say we don't have anybody here yet to dedicate our first dab to. But that's not true. Brittany Collins, welcome back. Brittany, it's been a long, long time. I'm sure we'll get into the details. I've talked about it in the last couple of live streams. We'll talk more about what's happened, what's to come. But let's get this first dab going of our stream here. We'll do it for our friend Brittany. Thanks for hanging out with us, Brittany. And thanks for coming back after 3 months of absence. So let's do that just a second. Here we go. Oh, gotta swap my camera. There we go. All right, first class funk. We are almost out of our first class funk. And by almost out, I mean, I just opened a brand new gram of it yesterday, but we'll get through it very quickly in this finale week of Weeats. Here we go. Dab number 1 down the hatch. Nice, there we go. Dab number 1 done. And now, Curious Loon, welcome back, man. Cheers to you. Hope you are doing well. So, excuse me. We're probably going to stream for an hour or two today. Just hang out, do some weed in our smaller little setup here. A lot like we've been doing the past couple of days. We'll talk about some weird shit. We'll have some good times. And we'll focus more on maybe what is to come in the future. But for now, just happy to be here. Yesterday we talked a lot about VR. Talked a lot of VR talk. Can't promise we might not veer there again because I played a lot more Resident Evil Village since yesterday. And still just head over heels for that game. Experience. But we'll get there. Maybe we won't spend too much on VR. We'll talk weed. We'll talk movies, books, all our favorite topics here. Oh, Uninspired. Well, welcome, Uninspired. Good to see you, man. Welcome back. And you are not tripping, Uninspired. I'm glad that you brought it up, and thank you for even the suggestion. I guess we'll very quickly do the recap here. Uninspired, no options to donate on any platform. That's where I've been. I was yet again kicked from the YouTube Partners Program and lost live streaming privileges, and basically was threatened with, if I uploaded videos that I'd uploaded in the past, my account might get banned. So I haven't been uploading or live streaming, one, because I couldn't live stream, and two, because I'm not sure what content I have that is objectionable and maybe get banned in the future. But super appreciate the suggestion. Whatever you were planning on doing, give it to your favorite charity instead. I promise they could use it more. But So that's why this is the finale of the what we're calling the finale. It's a little over dramatic. It's not. We're not going to say goodbye forever, but I'm not going to have any new reviews out anytime soon until I have a better idea of what to be on the watch out for, what I should not upload. I'm not sure, but at this point, it would risk getting everything ruined. So we're not going to do any more reviews, unfortunately, on this channel, but we will move over, even if the Weeats account just sits here, and I occasionally live stream to it. I've got some new ideas, new ventures that are not weed related that I'd love to talk to you guys about. But that's for a little bit later on in the stream. And we got our friend GTR0 here. Welcome back, GTR0. Thanks for being here, man. And Brittany, totally not necessary. Thank you so much. I seriously very cool. I wasn't ever really promoting it even when it was an option. So it's not a big loss. It's just demotes you on sort of search terms and stuff as well, which is the bigger bummer. But appreciate the suggestion. Please don't feel free or feel obligated to. Never looking for that. Never was, which is curious because the reason I got banned was for selling things. Anyways, I gotta stop rehashing the story, and let's go ahead and we'll make things super, super interesting. We'll get ourselves a second, much smaller dab for everybody here who's come in the first couple of minutes or so. Our buddies Curious Loon, Uninspired, and GTR0 here. We'll slow down after this. If you've watched our previous two live streams, you know that they've, well, after 3 months of not doing this, my tolerance was shot. So I expect to get quite high quite quickly. Here we go. Nice, there's dab number 2. And let's see what else. We've been talking a lot of VR, as I said. We'll try not to gush about it too much again. The PSVR 2. We talked Resident Evil 8, Gran Turismo. What else is going on exciting in the world that isn't scary and anxiety-inducing? So what's cool in media? I'm not sure if any of you guys are on the Succession train, the 4th and final season of Succession, about really rolling now, 4 episodes in. It's one of the greatest Sunday nights in recent memory, man. 2 excellent shows on right back to back, each of them in their 4th and final seasons on HBO. Those being Succession and Barry. Both of them, just top tier golden age of television shows, as good as your Breaking Bads and your Sopranos and your Game of Thrones. And both of them are coming to an end very early in the lifespan of a TV show. So both of them are only 4 seasons long, which I think is great. Yes, Barry, GTR0. If you've not seen Barry, it is, what's his name's TV show? Bill Hader, the SNL guy. The dude who's tries Pineapple Express at the beginning of Pineapple Express, the soldier. Bill Hader, that's right. It's his show about a hitman who decides to give up his career of murdering people for money to become an actor. It is pitch black. It is a comedy. It's very funny, but it is Veep level dark. It's as pitch black as a comedy can get, and it is also just like this incredible. Each episode, you would be so surprised if you could go back in time and go to this dude from SNL who did impressions well and said that he is going to direct. I mean, I think he's directed all the last season of Barry and is directing all of this season, and some of them are virtuosic. I mean, like as good as anything else on television in terms of like direction. Incredibly intense, fast-paced, heady, cerebral stuff. Just what a show, man! And it takes that sort of dumb premise. I mean, that sounds like a '90s movie. A hitman decides to become an amateur actor, and it rings it for absolutely everything it's worth. If you have not seen Barry and you like your TV comedies very dark, like Eastbound and Down style bleak, Barry's among the best of them. And it's one of those shows where you once you watch that first episode, it's going to be like a vortex, and you will just get sucked through the whole thing. I'd be pretty sure it's hard to put down. And it's got everybody's favorite character actor, Stephen Root, as Bill Hader's boss handler guy. Stephen Root, Bill Dauterive, the stapler guy from The Office, and everything. And excellent in it all. Brittany says, move over to Rumble, Weeats. YouTube sucks, and Super Mario Brothers movie was awesome. Rumble, the most successful of the alt platforms. It's unabashedly pretty right-wing, from what I understand, Rumble. I've never actually been, but it's, in terms of like all of the social media competitors and clones of Twitter and Facebook, all of them have, especially Twitter, obviously, have dozens of just basically conservative imitators, and all of them are fiascos to some degree or another, except from what I understand, Rumble, which does seem to have some traction and be growing, which is not true for Parler or Gab or whatever other ones I'm forgetting. Brittany, I couldn't agree more that YouTube sucks, and it absolutely sucks. It's the only game in town. There's little incentive for them to figure out issues, my small little tiny issues that get just swept up in some, I'm sure, algorithmic driven ban, where it's nearly impossible to reach out to somebody to explain what's going on or get help with anything. All that is true, but they are still, outside of Rumble, which has its baggage, there's really nothing else, no other, it's not even that there's a competitor. I mean, it's just a total monopoly on uploaded video content on the internet, and I don't know how anybody can imagine that there's going to be a somebody who's going to break through anytime soon, because the networking effect for something like YouTube is just too great. I have every reason to hate YouTube, and I do in a lot of ways, obviously. And I find a lot of the stuff, like short form video content, consumable shit like that, to be not great from a entertainment perspective, from a like mental health perspective, from a societal perspective. But all of that being said, I still find myself using YouTube all the time as just like a utility. I mean, well, even more than that, that's sort of reductive and undersells the scope of how I use it. But I use it, I mean, daily. Just, it's the only algorithmic feed that I think I use from any kind of social media. Like, I don't read Twitter. I don't have a TikTok scroll. I don't have a Facebook. I don't have an Instagram. So I'm not subjected to like the algorithm deciding a computer program deciding what it is that I should watch anywhere else, or what is in front of my eyeballs other than YouTube. And it's really great at serving me up stuff that I feel compelled to watch, and I don't love myself for doing it. But I don't know if Rumble would make that any better. I should just watch less internet videos. Maybe we all should, except for Weeats. Oh, I missed uninspired questions, and we'll hit up Brittany's comment about the Super Mario Brothers movie. Uninspired asked if I have seen it. Brittany said she loved it. I'm guessing many more folks who will stop by today have seen it. Already raced past 700 million globally, which is just astounding. I certainly thought people were underselling Mario's potential at the box office. I was like, if I had put a wager down, I would have put it at the highest end. But I don't think I wouldn't have predicted it would have been this spectacular of a hit. I mean, it is. Get ready, man. This is, I would say, this is the Spider-Man moment for video game movies. This is where the floodgates are going to open now that the just unbelievable gobs of cash are going to be pouring into Nintendo and Illumination. Everybody is going to be out for another piece of this. And I don't think they're wrong, because I do think that, I mean, the fucking Sonic movies made a shit ton of money. Not this kind of money. I mean, this Mario money is, it's Marvel movie money good. It's that incredible. So be prepared for your video games. And when I say this is like the Spider-Man moment for movies, I mean, after Spider-Man, very quickly, blockbusters switched over from being just funneled very quickly into comic book spectacle. I mean, look at release charts between the summer of 2022 and now, and just see how many have narrowed down to comic book movies, because they're just chasing that kind of money. And we've seen plenty of video game movies before this, like the aforementioned Sonic and Detective Pikachu, Street Fighter movies in the 90s, Street Fighter movies in the aughts. They've tried it a bunch, but some have been modest hits. Nothing has been breakthrough. Just like the way they did with comic books, you had a lot of huge flops and modest hits. And then an X-Men came out and showed, oh, maybe there is something here. And then Spider-Man came out, and now we've been watching comic book movies for 20 years. And just in time for comic book movies to finally seem like the steam is maybe starting, possibly, although I wouldn't really count on it. It seems maybe not, but for the first time in 20 years, it looks like the comic book movie engine might start to get a little bit rocky. And if video game movies are here to pick up the slack, I'm not sure if that's a better thing, because I'm not really sure that it wasn't bad, the Mario movie. It was, if the studio that brought us Minions was going to make a Mario movie, this is about as good as you could have hoped for, I think. I mean, damned by faint praise, maybe, but I don't have anything novel to say. Like, all of the big criticisms that people have, like, it doesn't really have a story, and it doesn't really feel like, it just feels like a loose collection of little story bits and Easter eggs, from Mario, and celebrity voices, and an excellent performance by Jack Black. But it looked cool. I thought it looked pretty cool. They animate stuff well. And I look forward to, our Legend of Zelda movie in 3 years, because you better believe that shit's coming fast, real fast. So, yes, I like the Mario movie. It's pretty good. Trippy Ricks, welcome back, Trippy Ricks. Brittany Collins says, Rumble is growing huge. Basically, you can just do whatever you want. And that is true from what I understand. And that is a genuine double-edged sword there. It seems, even if the person who created this site or the platform or whatever it is we're talking about has the best of intents, like they're the noblest of purpose, without any kind of moderation, without any kind of like some ground rules being laid down, it seems a total truism on the internet, at least, and maybe even true in the more bodied world, that if something is left without somebody there to guard it or to keep out the ugliest of opinions and views and thoughts, it's gonna get overrun with Nazi shit real quick. And I don't know, I've never actually been to the Rumble site, but my guess is most of the top videos are going to be really objectionable things to a lot of folks, not because that's what the site wants to be the most popular stuff there, but because really extreme stuff tends to be the most popular stuff, and without any kind of filtration, you're just going to have people trying to out extreme one another to gain the most eyeballs, and that just seems like a recipe for some not good stuff. And frankly, I feel like my YouTube page already has enough random Nazi stuff that I don't need to, and I don't mean to denigrate specifically, although I do think that the guy who founded Rumble doesn't necessarily look down upon this stuff. I don't know. It's all tricky and it's all tough. And it's hard to know what to do in a world with monopolistic internet gods who can crush or uncrush. That was inelegant. Something not even because I don't think in any way, shape, or form my YouTube channel here was targeted or picked out or somebody. Not that at all. It's just like for whatever reason and I hate to keep using the term algorithm over and over again because it's kind of reductive and it's just a catch-all for. But in this case, it is true. Like it is just a program that has 5, 6, 700 million, who knows how many parameters where it's looking for of objectionable things, and somehow, some way, some part of my weed thing tripped this thing, and because, yeah, I don't know, Rumble, the YouTube alternative in our hellscape world where your options are YouTube or Rumble. Anyways, let's move on. I'm sorry again. I keep going back to the band stuff. We'll try to move past it. Eric, welcome back, Eric. So good to see you, man. Just hopefully somebody will catch you up. I promise. We'll get back to our weed stuff. As a matter of fact, let's do a small dab for our best buddy, Eric. Eric, thanks for being here. If I didn't just say, I won't keep talking about it, I'd explain where I've been, but somebody will fill you in. In the meantime, let's go do ourselves a very small third dab because it's not necessary at this point. But I want to celebrate for our buddy, Eric, as we are counting down to 420. We're at 418 today. Tomorrow, 420 Eve, and Thursday, our big 420 celebration, where we'll have everything. Right now, in this little small setup, while we're just hanging out, talking about the good old days, we have just our little mini nail here. Oops, I'm trying to get my camera moved over. What's up, camera? Well, maybe not. Let me try it like this. Yes, there we go. Neat. We've got our mini nail here. We've got our third little small dab. Somebody will have to remind me what we were talking about. YouTube, I think. Eric, awesome. Glad you got the broad strokes. I am so glad you are here, my friend. So glad you're here. I'll explain why in just a second. In these past several months since I've been gone, whoops, moving my whole screen around here. Before I got banned here, you had recommended me a book that sounded super interesting to me, and I picked it up, and I actually finished it. It was a little back ways in the queue, so I didn't get to it until about, I don't know, 2.5 months ago, but I read it a month ago or so now. You recommended to me Douglas Rushkoff's book, Survival of the Richest. Is that the title? And I finished it, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I certainly there were some things that I disagreed with. Broad strokes, I think he was spot on. A very sort of interestingly arranged book, fascinating arguments, kind of interesting thesis, really broad perspective. It goes down some. I wasn't expecting a lot of talk of determinism in a book about capitalists trying to survive all of the all of our inferior masses. Whew, I am so high. But I did enjoy it, and I'm so glad you recommended it. It was definitely a fun read. The book starts out with a story that I had heard quite a bit. I didn't realize I had known who Douglas Rushkoff was when you suggested the book, but I had heard his story recounted before about going to the billionaire survival. It wasn't a survivalist meeting. It was just like a billionaire kind of Davos-esque thing, where lots of folks were sort of speculating on strategies for surviving imminent potential disasters. And he was brought there, this, quasi-philosopher guy, to basically talk about people and their response to these disasters. And he got asked a bunch of really disturbing and dark questions, which is what I had heard, including unnamed billionaires, which you do have to trust him that this actually happened. I mean, he seems like a pretty trustworthy guy, but apparently Douglas Rushkoff, the author of this book, referring to, when in private with a bunch of very, very extremely wealthy people, were trying to question him about strategies for keeping your workers on your compound, your post-apocalyptic compound, working for you and not turning on you. What are you supposed to do to prevent, your security forces from just turning their guns on you and taking your stuff? And, these billionaires were speculating things like, well, could we make them sign, some kind of document? Is there any kind of future-proofing post-apocalyptic document signing? Could we use things like shock collars or other barbaric means? So I'd heard that before, and the book is kind of filled with equally disturbing bits of either conversations with people of that strata or other bits of things we should all be a little bit alarmed about. But thank you again for bringing it up, recommending it. I certainly enjoyed it. Again, that was Survival of the Richest, I think, by Douglas Rushkoff. Books. What else? I've gotten through a bunch of stuff. I've read a lot of fiction and nonfiction in the past couple of months. Speaking of, that is what I think we are planning on doing after Weeats. It won't be on this channel. We'll be starting something new in the near future, and it's not going to be weed related in any way, shape, or form. We are going to talk a lot about books, maybe some other things, but more focused on fiction, nonfiction, occasionally maybe dipping into other things. Mostly just like I think the way I have it conceived would be like an online book club. Have a schedule for what we're going to read, and then just come on every week and do maybe 2 live streams a week talking about the segment of the book that we had as a book club. That is the idea at this point. We'll talk more about it as things get cemented and we figure out the schedule. It won't be immediately. It won't be like next week when we do this, but probably more like the beginning of May is what I'm thinking. But we'll have like the first couple of books that we're gonna talk about ready to go. So if anybody's interested in following along, we'll have that those books up ready to look at and peruse and read through if you're interested. And hopefully I'll be able to do it in a more professional kind of less rambling, less under the influence of 3 dabs way. Shockingly hard to do a competent book club this high. I think. I've never actually tried. But seeing as how I'm struggling to remember the books that I've read just generally in the past 3 months, it seems like quite a stretch. I did read an excellent book of fiction. It's a bad way of saying that. I read a novel, not some nonfiction. I've read quite a few novels recently, but one that stands head and shoulders above the others. And one that may do a book club on it in the future. It had that much of an impact. I think it's that good. The novel is called Ill Will by Dan Chaon, not spelled anything like Sean, Chaon. And it is, I like really dark, dreary, what's a better, depressing. I like my literature, my books, bleak, depressing, dark, and the ones where when you finish, you feel like you need to just either take a shower or be left alone for a little while. And Ill Will is one of those books. It is kind of the story of a psychologist who, when he was a child, his adopted older brother murdered his parents and his aunts and uncle, went to prison for it, and this, as a grown adult, as a psychologist who studies implanted, or not implanted, but false memories, imprinted memories, or repressed memories, both, his adopted brother, gets out of prison. The Innocence Project, the very famous Justice Project, frees him thanks to some genetic evidence, and it is one of the most. It's so gotten under my skin. One of those things when you just read it and you. Oh yeah, it kept me up at night. I finished it a month ago now, and I just still keep coming back to it. It is not a novel for people who need firm resolutions or things to be wrapped up in a nice, tidy bow. It's more about asking questions than answering them. But my description of the book makes it seem way seedier than it is, or not seedier. It's quite seedy. More sort of generic genre fiction. It's really not that at all. It goes some unexpected, weird, sinister places. That book is called Ill Will. The best novel I've read in the past couple of months, for sure. So if you're in the mood for something, again, really dark, check it out. And let's see, not so dark. What was I just? Oh my God, guys, I am so high. Let's see. GTR0 says fiction. He's recommending Jim Butcher. He says he's fun, super easy reading. I've definitely seen Mr. Butcher recommended many times GTR 0, but I've never actually read any Jim Butcher myself. What of his do you recommend the most? I think the Dresden Files, right, is his big like series. Does he have other single novels? Anything you recommend in particular? GTR 0 for the folks out there. So I've been playing a lot of, playing so many video games in addition to all our reading and all this fun stuff. And not just VR stuff, as much as I would like everything to be in VR. And unfortunately isn't all. And I just yesterday finished the Dead Space remake, which is an excellent horror game. Now that we are firmly in the world of remakes in video games, big budget, not just remasters, not just up-resing what was before, but ground up, fresh nuts and bolts remakes of games. Dead Space got the treatment earlier this year, and Resident Evil 4 obviously just got it as well. And the Dead Space remake is incredible. The game from back, 2007? I thought it was amazing then. There's a reason it had people clamoring for a remake, remaster, reboot for the better part of a decade. And it's still pretty unlike anything else out there. If you don't know, Dead Space is a really stock standard. I mean, it is, if you've ever seen the movie Event Horizon, which is practically not its own genre at this point. It's a cosmic horror type of thing. A spaceship gets lost in deep outer space and comes back years later only for people to find it and the whole thing to be fucked up beyond belief. There are quite a few of these things. And Dead Space is one of those. It absolutely is just another Event Horizon, but it's such a good one. Big mining ship something goes wrong with it deep in space, and you are an engineer who happens to be close by and goes to investigate what went wrong with this ship. And it is what went wrong is not just zombies. And what makes Dead Space so much fun is they're not just your standard space zombies. They call them necromorphs in the game, and they're like human bodies that get turned from the inside out so that their bones basically become weapons. So like all of the people on the big ship that you have to make your way through, it's like their arms split through their hands and become big scythes, and then they run and chase you down. And it's super scary and terrifying. And the great twist on Dead Space is these guys these aren't your standard zombies, not your standard space zombies. So you're not going to dispatch them by blowing their heads off. As a matter of fact, these zombies care way more about their arms and legs than their heads. So Dead Space, you're shooting limbs off. You're just blowing zombie scythe bone creatures running and screaming at you. You're just shooting limbs and legs, and you're cutting them in two, cutting them in four, and you're using like fun modified engineering weapons to do so, like drills and flamethrowers and big old laser auger lasers. It's great. It is as grotesque as that premise sounds. It's real nasty looking at points. There's some real intensely stomach-turning shit in it. but I loved it. It's exactly the way you remembered it being in 2007, but of course, looks, in your mind, you're like, oh, this is exactly how I remember it being. But if you were to look at just how far we've come in 16 years or whatever, you would your jaw would be on the floor. The game looked amazing. It's incredible. If you are into survival horror, or more apt, or more appropriately, I guess, action horror, Dead Space remake is super, super great, and plays great on PC. I think it's supposed to play great on consoles. And there's no like microtransaction bullshit. It's just a single player game that takes 12 hours to beat. Really, really enjoyed it. And last video game talk for a bit. I am also, right before I left, I started playing Persona 5 for the first time. Persona 5 Royal, the beloved Japanese role-playing game by many, 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 many people. It's an example of a sort of game or a property or a franchise, whatever term you want to use, that in between its fourth and fifth versions exploded in popularity. It went from being a very small, niche, tiny thing to now being a mega, mega hit, with all eyes on Atlas, is the developer, publisher, for whatever comes next, which I, don't envy them about, but it is unabashedly a anime visual novel / hardcore Japanese role-playing game, and I love it. I mean, I just flat out love it. I love Persona 4, which is the first one I ever played, which I played a decade ago on the Vita, the PlayStation Vita. If anybody remembers the wonderful little guy. So I've been playing it for like 3 months. It is that long. I'm at nearly 100 hours, and I just beat the presumably final boss. I don't quite... Here's the thing. Okay. We don't understand how brains work. A very, topic we love to come back here on Weeats over and over again. Any individual component of something like Persona 5, I would find annoying, incredibly irritating, just wouldn't want anything to do with it. It has all of the biggest flaws and tropes that all anime type things have. Characters, high school characters with exaggerated emotions and super broad story beats and incredibly quirky and unexplained, flights of fancy that don't make any sort of sense or don't seem to have any other purpose other than to look cool. All that just, if it were a, something, if any one part of something like Persona 5 were hived off and grafted onto anything else, I would find that to be the worst part of that thing. I would just think it would be so obnoxious. All of it. Persona 5, from the story to the combat to the sort of visual novel stuff of it, without the aggregate experience would be just so incredibly annoying. But there's something about when it is all combined together, you get overwhelmed with the sort of blatant stupidity and but like self-aware blatant stupidity, and just doesn't give a shit that you don't that it doesn't have to follow strict narrative rules and laws, and it's just a delightful experience. And I'm going to be sad to see it go when I wrap it up in the next couple of days. What a weird way to endorse the game completely, because I think it's fantastic. And if you have any interest, well, no, that's a bad thing to say. I was going to say, if you have any interest in anything I just said, well, that shouldn't compel you. But I was going to say, if you like role-playing games, you might like it. But it's really not that great of an art, even a Japanese role-playing game. It's really not. It really must be something that like you try for yourself and see if it just hooks you or not. I have no idea. Like, I don't consciously understand why I find it so appealing, enjoyable, and moving, the game as it is. Because, again, every component piece of it kind of sucks. But I've played 95 hours of it, so... and I say that I love it because I genuinely do, but I can't quite explain why. And maybe somebody else can. All right. Well, let's use that as our opportunity for a fourth, very small, incredibly small dab, but just as a change of pace to break up the tension. We'll move on to other things. And we'll do ourselves a very small dab here. And we'll do it for our buddy GTR0 and his recommendation of the Dresden Files from Jim Butcher. Okay, here we go. Our fourth little small dab. Whew. All right. Excuse me. I know. What I want to talk about? I just wrapped up the first season with my wife of the show The Leftovers. And it is, boy, every show I'm talking about is incredible and amazing and a must watch. But The Leftovers, much like Barry and Succession, another HBO show, is incredible and a must watch. I just, as I said, finished the first season, of which there are only 3. It is done and in completion. It is The Leftovers. Very simple premise, but incredible, and such a fun premise in which to spin out a lot of fun ideas. It is a world where, in one moment, on one day, in 1 second, I think 2% of the population just vanishes without any warning, explanation, or trace sign, or even theory as to what, or why, what, how, any of those big questions happen to this 2% of the people. And the show, I think, is it 3 years after the event? It takes place some number of years after the rapture, so to speak. And it just looks at what the world would be like in that event. What would a world look like where 2% of the people just vanish without a trace all at the same time. And the show is written, created, directed by Damon Lindelof, who is the Lost guy. The absolute perfect person for a show like The Leftovers, in which there is never any expectation, nobody thinks that they are going to explain what happened. That's not something the show is at all interested in. It doesn't ever gesture towards even wanting to explain that. It is just much more interested in what the fuck does that world look like? How does the world adapt and evolve from something so shocking and traumatic? And Damon Lindelof, Mr. Lost creator and writer, is the perfect guy for that, because it doesn't have any answers, because it's all just questions, and it's all just theorizing, and his speculations, I think, are fascinating. It is a true work of imagination to, some really delved deep, I think, into not just the surface level. Well, of course, there'd be a lot of people who think it was the Christian rapture, or, there would be a rash of suicides after he really, really ponders, what structurally would change, what spiritually would change for both individuals and society as a whole. And it is based on an incredible novel by a guy named Tom Perrotta. We've talked a lot about him in the past. Move on from there, but The Leftovers is an incredible, incredible season of television. The first season, and I've heard it only gets better. If you are in the mood for something existential and dark, but occasionally uplifting, the most occasionally uplifting of all the shows we've mentioned so far, check out The Leftovers. So good. And that Damon Lindelof, man, the Watchmen show that he also spearheaded on HBO, I think is incredible as well. Honestly, I would not have thought it possible to make something from the Watchmen property, other than the actual original graphic novel source, that good. And I think it genuinely does it justice. If you've never seen the Watchmen show, even if you don't give a shit about comics at all, it is an inspired work of fiction. Check it out. It's a lot of shows I've recommended, giving you a lot of homework here, but I promise they're all good and they're all worth checking out. I think, to recap, I've larded you down with Barry and Succession, which are both on right now. You could be part of the whole zeitgeist. Their final seasons. And then I've thrown two more. I keep saying the term HBO, but I think it got Oculus. I think is it just Max now? Is that what I'm supposed to call this? Am I supposed to say that Succession is a Max show? Boy, if you ever need proof, or if you ever just want to feel extra mad about the state of the world, and at the same time, simultaneously, maybe a little grateful, oh wow, I'm smarter than I think I am. He gets a lot of shit, but the CEO of Warner Brothers, whatever the conglomerate name is, Discovery, HBO, Time Warner, Megadeth, extreme conglomerate from hell, the CEO there genuinely seems to be like a total, this just is going to be a total disaster. And what I'm speaking of is HBO Max and HBO are, and it's still not clear where the beloved name HBO is going to go. I assume it sticks around in some capacity. But HBO Max and Discovery, the thing that, I don't know the last time I guess I was in a hotel room the last time I turned on a Discovery Channel show, are merging together and coming under the name Max. And it just seems like a giant, insane clusterfuck done for no other purpose than to aggrandize one human being. That one human being is one of the highest paid executives in the country, writ large, not just in media, not just in technology, but across pan industries. This guy, who genuinely does not seem like he knows what the fuck he's doing, makes more money in a day than, I think, makes more money. We'll say makes more money in a week than most people will make in a lifetime. We'll just go with a week. And that's just domestically. It gets worse if we think about the rest of the globe. And he seems to be, like, again, a genuinely stupid human being. But when you fail up hard, man. Luis, welcome, by the way. He says, Weeats, I just finished a birthday cake baked bar. It's really good. Maybe one of the best disposable vapes on the market. What wax do you recommend that's really potent like a sativa? Luis, is the name of the brand, is that Baked Bar? Is that the actual company that you bought it from? I'm super curious, just for people out there who are looking for some recommendations. And then what kind of wax do I recommend that's really potent? If you're referring to like wax in cartridges or disposables, pods, my first and always number one recommendation is Plug Play. They're my favorite vape thing ever. No problem recommending them. And if you're in an area that doesn't have them, they're growing, but they're still not everywhere. Steezy is an easy recommend. They're huge for a reason. But if you're asking about any other like specific actual wax or concentrates, not in a pen or disposable or pod form, I don't really have any particular recommendations. I don't actually stick with any one farm or company when it comes to either flower or concentrates, actually. I am totally brand agnostic. I don't care. I usually try to find something that seems to be a good deal, and that often rotates at my dispensary. So I try pretty much everything. So I don't really have any great recommendations for you, but I hope somebody in chat does. That one stuff says, my birthday is 4/20. Got lucky with that one. Well, congratulations, that one stuff. You are blessed by the birthday gods. Having your birthday on 4/20 is like the opposite of having your birthday on Christmas. It just amplifies the birthday greatness. The day doesn't pull away from, the celebration from your birthday. It just makes it better. Congrats to your parents for boning 9 months earlier than that, which, if I wasn't so high, I'll just use that as an excuse. I'd probably still fuck it up, but I'll say that I'm too high to say whatever 9 months earlier is from right now, which is April the 18th, because 4/20 is only 2 days away. Happy early birthday, that one stuff. I hope we'll get a chance to say it to you on the day. Thanks for being here anyways. And I hope you've got some cool stuff planned for your big 420 birthday. I bet you're an easy person to shop for on that day. Luis says, he's from LA, where there's so many dispensaries when lead became legal. It's just Jungle Boys, Steezy, and high quality weed. Boy, Jungle Boys, man, they really, they've got that advertising budget. Anytime I drive into the city, I live in Long Beach, but driving into downtown LA, there are Jungle Boys billboards everywhere. And I'm not too, ashamed to admit, I've never tried Jungle Boys. I have nothing against them. They are quite expensive, but for a long time, especially around the beginning of the pandemic, Jungle Boys was the biggest question I would get on Weeats about stuff. Like, do you know where I can get like, not from people in California or even on the West Coast, but people from New York or even totally illegal states, mostly East Coast, Midwest, like asking if I knew ways to hook people up with Jungle Boys. And I always had to unfortunately disappoint people, but they were that big that, I assume they still are, that people used to try to come to me to get it because they heard about it 1,000 miles from here. I should probably try some Jungle Boys one day. Maybe if I can find it at my dispensary, we'll finally try Jungle Boys on our 420 live stream spectacular. I'm going to make a mental note of that. And I'm curious, Luis, have you done Jungle Boys yourself? And do you think it is worth the hype? Or it is all just a product of their obviously good marketing skills? I'm super curious, actually. Again, never actually pulled the trigger. But I don't know. Brands are always tough for me, especially if they're way more expensive. Although I just plugged Plug Play. Sorry to. Jeez, I'm so high. I just brought up Plug Play, and they are way more expensive than a lot of the competition. So obviously, I'm not that biased against it. If Jungle Boys is to standard bud as Plug Play is to generic cart, I would be buying a lot of more Jungle Boys. Although a lot more than zero, it's hard to have less than. So, and I'm tired of saying Jungle Boys now. If I'm gonna bring up jungle and small people, I'm gonna bring up my the excellent skit from Nathan For You. No, that's probably too bad to do. It's probably dangerous. I was about to say the term jungle children, which is a phrase that Nathan tricks somebody into saying in that, but that's not a good phrase. It was presented as fine in the show. Jungle boys, jungle children, jungle girls, they're all God's jungle people. And that's enough about jungle folk. It just sounds ridiculous. It sounds, surely that's not a slur, but it certainly sounds like one. And it makes me, every time I see that Jungle Boys, all those billboards, I have a moment in my brain where it's like, that, you can't say that. But I don't know why. Maybe that's bad to even have that thought, but it just feels like it should be a slur, but it's not. Jungle Boys, weed. It's not a slur. That should be their new motto and logo. They don't have to pay me anything. I give them that one for free. Jungle Boys. It's not a slur. Oh boy. It is, things are deteriorating in here. Also getting quite warm. Let's talk about what's coming up. So we will be back tomorrow as well. We're going to be streaming again tomorrow around the same time. And we are going to, of course, be doing a 420 live stream, big thing. We'll bring out the volcano. We'll bring out all the favorite gadgets, all that fun stuff for 420. That will be kicking off at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. So 1:20 here, a little bit earlier than I started today. But we'll start at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, 4:20 at 4:20. I mentioned this last time. I'll throw it out here again if anybody's interested. If you want to come on for a second, if you want to say hi, do a bowl with us, do a dab with us, whatever the case may be. And you've got Discord, you've got yourself a microphone and a camera. I would love to say hello to folks that we've never had a chance to say hi to before. Let me know. You can email me. You can weeatsreviews@gmail.com. Whatever. You can hit me up on Discord, and I'd be happy to have you. Additionally, I know some folks out here have mentioned that they are planning or have already started up their own weed YouTube channels. I think that's so cool. I think that's so great. Genuinely awesome. And I would love to give you guys a shout out, whatever term you want to use, whatever that may be, on Thursday as well. You can come on, talk about what you're doing or what you're planning on doing, say hello. If that's something you're interested in as well, let me know. You can hit me up at those same places and platforms. So that's going to be Thursday. That's our 420 spectacular. And tomorrow we'll be back as well around the same time, maybe a little bit later, doing the same fun stuff. Then we'll be moving on to bigger, better things. We're calling it the finale, but that's not really true. It is true that I'm not going to be putting out any new reviews for a while, but we will do live streams every now and then, and I'll be promoting whatever it is that ultimately comes together, mostly about probably boring-ass books. And when and where all those details, I'll come back here to Weeats to talk about them. And we'll still live stream every now and then, but this is going to be our, again, farewell week here on Weeats. So let's keep the party going with our 5th and smallest dab yet, because I should have stopped a while ago, but I find them a nice transition, a good momentary break to move on to something else, a good opportunity to think of something else to ramble about. Here we go. We'll give this dab in dedication to our new buddy Luis, hanging out with us from LA. Thanks for being here, man. This dab is for you. I still don't really know what I mean by that in principle. Just dedicated to you. In whatever way you wanted to interpret that. I messed that up. The camera, that is. Delightful. Whew. Oh, I missed that one. Step said, I just rolled a joint and a half a paper glued to the full paper. It's like a joint blunt combo. Sounds nice. Half joint, half blunt, all amazing. And I'm sure it'll still do what its intended purpose is, and that is to get you quite high. At least I hope. Get a picture for the gram. That's one, made for social media, the blunt joint combo. I got to remember to look for Jungle Boys. I got to remember to pick up some other supplies. Again, please reach out, message me if there's anything you want to do on 420, interested in saying hello, stopping by, promoting something, whatever the case may be. Let me know. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to take ourselves a break. There is possible I may come back today, later today. I'm not going to promise it. I wouldn't even expect it, but it is a possibility. But it's real hot in here, and I am too high. I was too high before I did that fifth one, to be honest. I was too high at number 2. But that's, that's what we're here for. And it's been fun hanging out with everybody. We'll for sure be back tomorrow. We'll do more. We'll be less chicken shit about it. I'm building that tolerance back up for 420. We'll be robust and stout, ready to demolish dab after dab, bag after bag. So we're building it slowly but surely for the 420 marathon. If I don't see you later today, I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow. And happy 420 Eve. My dogs are whining.